Welcome back this morning. The violence in Mexico is so bad that many Americans are afraid that violence could even spill over here into the United States. Last year, the drug war resulted in 6,000 deaths, including 843 in Tijuana.
How about that? Now, the border is obviously right there. It's 10 miles away from where we're sitting, and it's unbelievable to think that these kinds of things are happening right there, separated by a fence. Congressman Brian Bilbray is on the phone right now, a little bit disgusted with the way things are going down there. And, Congressman, you have a rather aggressive approach to what you want to do about this. Good morning.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Bridget.
Good morning. You sent a letter to the president and also copied the Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, also Hillary Clinton. What did you say in that letter?
Bridget, all I said was, look, as you're winding down the war in Iraq, while you're concentrating on Afghanistan, don't forget about our backyard, where there is more killings going on every day than people would ever dream of. I mean, we hear about maybe 10 people killed in a bomb yesterday in Baghdad, but do we hear about the 29 people that are murdered in Tijuana? And we need to make sure that Washington, which feels it's so far away from the border, recognizes that we need to take care of our own backyard, especially the fact that it's so close to us. And those of us in San Diego need to really be forthcoming with raising this issue up. And that's why I was glad to see Jerry Sanders articulating the position very clear, because San Diegans got to warn America that you don't have to look halfway around the world to find this kind of violence. You can look in our own backyard.
No, I know. It's just mind-boggling, and you just shake your head when you go down there and look at the situation. Hey, as you know, in Juarez, there are something like 20, 30, maybe even 40,000 Mexican military troops have taken over the entire city of Juarez because, you know, 250 people were murdered there just last month. Here, are you actually calling for a military presence and the U.S. military to start patrolling the border? Is that what you would like?
Dan, my attitude is that we do whatever it takes to be able to make sure that this violence stays on the other side of the border. And right now, the Merida initiative is for our military to train and aid the Mexican military in fighting the war in Mexico so we don't have to fight it in San Diego. But the governor of Texas, who in the past was very much against the fence, against border control, he has this week announced that he wants American troops at the Texas line. I believe that we shouldn't be ruling out the use of every force we have. You've got to remember, American troops go all over the world to secure borders in countries everywhere. There's no reason at all why we should draw an arbitrary line that says we won't defend our own border with this. And remember, Mexico over a decade ago realized how out of control the border was and brought their troops in. It's sort of absurd for us to draw an arbitrary line and say we won't defend American neighborhoods with American troops.
You're drawing parallels to Colombia back in the 80s. What is so similar about these situations in your mind?
What's so similar is you're talking about a country that's on the verge of collapse because of the drug cartels. And you got to remember, these are people that not only smuggle drugs, they smuggle guns in, they smuggle aliens north. They are laundering money, but the difference between we sent our troops down, we trained the Colombian troops to win that war down in Colombia. For God's sakes, why we wouldn't do the same to defend our own neighborhoods when it's this close to us? And the big difference between Colombia and Mexico is in our backyard. It's not thousands of miles away, like you said. It's 10 miles away. It's right next to our neighborhoods, and it's already starting to encroach over in places like Chula Vista and the South Bay.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, you're talking about they bring the drugs in and they bring the guns in and they bring people in. But along the way, Brian, as you know and I know, human life has no value to these people and they'll kill you without even blinking.
Well, I tell you, that's what's really scary about that. And, you know, I have children that live in the South Bay, and it just scares me to think what a target our county is becoming in a lot of ways. And these people don't care about it. It's all expendable, and that is why we can't worry about being politically correct or passive. We've got to be aggressive. And as San Diegans, it's really important that we do what Jerry Sanders did this week, and that is get the word out to America, especially the media in New York, that understand that New York thinks they're far away from this. We got to recognize them. The San Diego and Arizona and Texas is just as much a part of the United States as Washington, D.C. and Manhattan, and they need to recognize that the threat to the South is a huge threat, something that is not far and gone. It is in our own backyard. And we'd rather fight this battle in Mexican soil rather than U.S. soil.
Brian, you know what, let me just add this. Some might say, however, we here in the United States are fueling part of this problem because of the drug use in this country. What do you say to that, and how can we fight that battle from that direction as well?
Absolutely. There are three components here that we can address. Drug use. Anybody who uses a drug or deals in a drug is part and parcel of these murders. Anybody who's selling guns illegally in the United States to go south. And the other is the human contraband. We've got to understand that the drug cartels make money and import drugs with the use of illegal immigrants. And those who are thinking that hiring illegal or profiteering from hiring these people is somehow is separate from the guns and the drug part is absolutely absurd. The three moneymakers for these guys are American consumption of aliens and drugs and the sale of American guns into Mexico, and we got to stop all three.
You got it. Congressman Brian Bilbray, thank you so much for talking to us this morning. It's back to work for you guys, figuring out the world's financial problems, I guess.
One challenge after another.
Oh, boy.
I'm just trying to stay warm here. Bridget, great to hear from you again.
Yeah, great to talk to you, too. Thank you, Congressman Bilbray.
See you later. All right.
Certainly a complex issue, but, you know, as he mentioned, and you show the pictures here on your monitor, it's very scary to look at the situation.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, yeah, here's the military down in Juarez. We just mentioned that. And I guess they started with something like 20,000 troops. They say it could go up to something like 100,000 troops by the time it's over. And this is just a tiny little city across from El Paso, Texas. 250 people were killed there last month alone. So the president of Mexico said, you know what, we just can't do this anymore. So they sent the military in. It's basically a military town. It's basically a military